Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to more children's Torah stories. Last week, we had the amazing fact that the Jewish people left Egypt. That's right. After Hashem made all the plagues, and there was blood, and frogs, and lice, and wild animals, and the animals got sick, and boils, and hail, and locusts, and darkness, and the plague of the firstborn. After all of that, Paro finally said, Jewish people, Geharois. That's Yiddish, actually. He probably didn't speak Yiddish. Geharois, get out. Go away, Jewish people. I don't want you in Egypt anymore. And the Jewish people said, we're not going to go in the middle of the night, Paro. We will go tomorrow morning. Thank you very much. And do you remember, Yeladim, what the Jewish people got from all the Egyptians before they went? They got gold and silver and beautiful clothes. So when they were finally ready to leave Egypt, everyone left looking so beautiful and so magnificent. They were simply stunning, darling. When they went out of Egypt, they looked so great. Well, they all went out of Egypt and they were so happy and so proud. And do you remember that Moshe brought something that none of the other people remembered? And that was not something actually, but someone. Moshe brought someone out of Egypt, and that was Yosef. Because Yosef said to the Jewish people, I want you to promise me that when you leave Egypt, you will take me with you so that you can bury me in the land of Israel. And that is what Moshe remembered, and that's what they did. No, it was Yosef, because Yaakov, it's good thinking, Shalva, but Yaakov, they actually buried him in Israel as soon as he died. With Yosef, they didn't bury him in Israel straight away. They first buried him in Egypt. And when they left Egypt, they took Yosef with, so they could also bury him in Israel afterwards. Good thinking. So then the other thing that they didn't have was they didn't have time to make leavened bread, to make bread rise. Now, nowadays, it doesn't take so long for our bread to rise. You just throw in some yeast and it just rises, chick-chack, quick. But in those days, if you wanted your bread to rise, it would take a long time. It could even take days, because you had to make something called sourdough. And you made sourdough, and then you added that to your regular dough, and then it would make it rise, but it took like 2 days to make the sourdough, so it could take quite a long time to make this bread that would rise. And they didn't have so long. They only got told in the middle of the night that they were leaving the next morning, so that was not enough time in those days to make the bread. So they just said, okay, we'll have unleavened bread, which we all call, what do we call unleavened bread? Matzah, obviously. So that is what we have on Pesach, because this was the time that they went out of Egypt. Now, I must tell you, Ladim, there was not just a few Jewish people who left. There were thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of Jewish people. There were maybe as many as 3 million Jewish people, which is really a lot of people. It's like the whole of Cape Town, or the whole of Durban, or even more than the whole of Yerushalayim. Imagine every single person from Yerushalayim going out of Egypt altogether. There's still more people than that who actually went out of Egypt. It was 600,000 men between age 20 and 60. So just the men between age 20 and 60 was 600,000. Then there were also all the ladies, and there were also all the children, there was all the older people. So it was a lot of people, and they all started going out of Egypt. And it was really amazing. We mentioned last time that Hashem says, Jewish people, you trusted me. You believed in me to go out of Egypt into the desert where there was no food and water, and you just trusted me that it would all work. Jewish people, I love you so much for that. Thank you so much for trusting in me. And that's so important to remember, that sometimes things can be really, really hard. But when things are really hard, we must still trust Hashem. Because just like Hashem took care of us in the past, just like Hashem took care of us before when we left Egypt, Hashem will take care of us today as well. Whenever things get hard, we mustn't be afraid, because just like Hashem took us out of Egypt, Hashem's going to help us here as well. Well, the Jewish people left, and off they went into the desert. And then Hashem had to decide, which way am I going to send the Jewish people to Israel? There's the straight way that goes straight up to Israel, or there's the roundabout way that doesn't go straight to Israel. So which way should Hashem send them, Yeladim? Show me if Hashem should send them the straight way, straight up to Israel. Or should Hashem send them the roundabout way? Well, actually, Hashem sent them the roundabout way. Because he said, if they go the straight way, they are going to bump into the Plishtim. Now the Plishtim, some people call them the Philistines. The Plishtim were living right near the land of Israel. And if they went the straight way, straight from Egypt to Israel, they would bump into the Plishtim. And do you know what the Plishtim love more than anything else? Do you know what the Plishtim's favorite thing to do is? Fighting. The Plishtim were some of the best fighters in the whole world. In some of the stories later on in the Torah, I don't know if we're going to get there together. Let's see and let's try. Some of the stories later on in the Torah, the Jewish people and the Plishtim were fighting so much. Like David HaMelech, King David, was always fighting the Plishtim. And Shimshon, Samson, the strongest oak, was always fighting the Plishtim. And it was very hard for them, because the Plishtim were such brilliant fighters. So Hashem said, if the Jewish people go out of Egypt on the straight way and immediately bump into the Plishtim who start fighting with them, well, then that could be big trouble. Because the Jewish people might get scared and they might say, oh no, now we have to fight. We don't want to fight. We don't want to go back to Egypt. Or there might even be something else. There's a very clever rabbi in Israel called Rabbi Yoel ben Nun. And do you know what Rabbi ben Nun says? He says, actually, what Hashem was worried about was that they would go to fight the Plishtim, and the Plishtim would be so strong, and they would say to the Egyptians, please help us. That's what they might do. Egyptians, please help us. And then if the Egyptians would help them, then they wouldn't really be free from Egypt. The Egyptians would still be like their boss, because the Egyptians would say, oh, we helped you beat the Plishtim, we helped you fight the Plishtim. So that's one of the reasons why Hashem didn't want to send them on a straight road where they would bump into the Plishtim, because either they would get scared of the Plishtim, or they would ask the Egyptians for help against the Plishtim, and then they would really kind of carry on being slaves to the Egyptians. Well, what happened next was Hashem took them away out of Egypt. Well, the first night, they actually stayed in a place called Sukkot. Have any of you heard of something called Sukkot? Why would they stay in a place called Sukkot? They stayed in a place called Sukkot because they built Sukkot. They built a sukkah. The Jewish people didn't have proper homes to live in when they left, so they built little Sukkot to stay in. Maybe it means they built their own little like tents or huts to stay in, or maybe it also means that Hashem gave them clouds to protect them. Because that was one of the amazing things Hashem did when he took us out of Egypt, was he gave us these clouds that took care of us and protected us. There were actually 7 different clouds. One cloud was a roof on top of our heads, and this protected us from the desert sun. Imagine they're going outside in the desert walking every day. They're all going to get sunburnt. And they didn't have any suntan lotion in those days. So if they all went walking out in the desert, they were all going to get sunburnt. So Hashem firstly gave them a cloud over their heads so that they wouldn't get sunburnt. The next thing is there's a hot wind that comes through. Oh, and it blows sand. And the sand would go in your eye and in your mouth and all over and in your hair. Get sand everywhere. Well, Hashem said, Jewish people, I don't want you to be uncomfortable. I don't want you to get sand in your eyes and your mouth and your nose and everywhere. So he put clouds all around them. in front, behind, right, left, clouds all around them to protect. So how many clouds is that so far? One cloud above their heads, cloud in front, cloud behind, cloud to the right, cloud to the left. 5 clouds. Hashem also put a cloud underneath. Because if they were going to go walking in the desert all day on the hot, hard sand, their feet would get sore and tired. So Hashem says, you know what? I'll put a cloud underneath as well. And then you will walk on that cloud. It will be like walking on a bubble bath, like walking on foam. It will be so comfortable and so nice. So that is what Hashem did for them as well. So how many clouds is that now? That is 6. And then there was a cloud in front of them that showed them the way where to go. That was a pillar of cloud. So whenever they needed to know, do we go forward, do we go right, do we go left, Hashem would move the pillar of cloud, and that pillar of cloud would show them which way they were supposed to go. But then when it got nighttime, how are they supposed to see the pillar of cloud at night? Can you see clouds very well at night? No, especially if it's pitch black. So how are they supposed to see the pillar of cloud? How are they supposed to know which way to go if it's nighttime? That's right. I can see that some of you are saying the right answer. At nighttime, Hashem made the pillar of cloud disappear. And Hashem brought in a new pillar, a pillar of fire. And Hashem made that pillar of fire to go in front of them so they would always know which way to go. During the day, pillar of cloud. During the night, pillar of fire. So they always knew which way they were supposed to go. And off they went, Hashem taking them into the desert. And Hashem took them to a place called the Yam Suf. Now the Yam Suf, we sometimes call it the Red Sea. They also sometimes call it the Sea of Reeds. But we're going to call it the Yam Suf. The Yam Suf was this kind of sea. We're not sure exactly where it is today. We know exactly where Egypt, where Mitzrayim is that the Jewish people went from. We know exactly where Israel is, where the Jewish people went to, the Hashem's special country. But we're not exactly sure where the Yam Suf is. Some people say it's the Gulf of Aqaba. Some people say it's other places. Some people say it's actually part of a sea called the Red Sea. Okay, we're not sure exactly, but that was where Hashem took them. Hashem took them right up to the Yam Suf. Well, meanwhile, Yeladim, while they were traveling through the desert, day after day after day, Paro said, hold on a second. Why aren't they coming back? I never said the Jewish people can go forever. I said the Jewish people can go, pray to Hashem, have a party with Hashem, and then come back to Egypt. Maybe they're not coming back. What do you think, Yeladim? Are the Jewish people coming back to Egypt, or are they free forever? Give me a thumbs up if they are free forever. Thumbs up is free forever, and thumbs down mean going back to Egypt. You are quite right, Yeladim. Well done. They are actually free forever. They are not coming back to the land of Egypt. No sirree Bob. No way, no how. They are going to go forever. But Paro never realized that. Paro thought they were going to come back. And so Paro said, oh no! What did we do? We let the Jewish people go. Silly Paro. I'd better go and get them back. Egyptian people, let's get the army and let's go and fight the Jewish people and bring them all back to Egypt so that they can be our slaves again. Because meanwhile, they were all looking around and they said, well, what are we going to do? All the Jewish slaves are gone. Are we supposed to do our own laundry? No way. Are we supposed to clean our own homes? No way. Are we supposed to cook and wash the dishes ourselves? No way, man. We need the Jewish people to do that for us. We can't do that ourselves. Let's quickly go send the army to get the Jewish people back. Is that a great idea that the Egyptians can't even take care of themselves? I think those Egyptians need to get their act together because everyone should be able to take care of themselves. Sure, it can be hard work sometimes, and sometimes the whole family needs to work together to cook and clean and do laundry and get ready for Pesach and everything else. But you shouldn't say, I wish I had my slaves to help me out, like Paro said. No way. Or even you shouldn't say, oh, I wish I had my nanny or my domestic worker. It's so unfair. No, don't worry about it. You are strong enough to do it yourself. And that's what the Egyptians didn't realize. And so the Egyptians said, oh no, what are we going to do? We don't have our slaves anymore. We better go and get them back. And so they got the army together, and they got the soldiers and the horses and the chariots and the swords and the shields and the spears and the machine guns. I'm just joking about the machine guns. It was before guns. And they got all the things together, and they came chasing after the Jewish people. Chasing after the Jewish people. And the Jewish people looked off, and they said, oh no, the Egyptians are coming. And they looked around, and behind them there was the sea. They can't go into the sea. You can't, even if some of them can swim, you can't carry all the babies across the sea, all the little children, all their stuff, all their animals. They can't go across the sea. And they look in front of them, and there's the Egyptians coming closer and closer. And they started saying, oh no, what are we going to do? Well, different Jewish people had different ideas about what they wanted to do. Some of them said, let us daven to Hashem. Hashem, please help us. Hashem, please help us. Other people said, let us fight the Egyptians. We are going to go and fight against them. We will be just as strong as their army. Other Jewish people said, let's say to the Egyptians, I'm really sorry, Egyptians. I'm really sorry we ran away. Please, can we come back and be your slaves again? And some of the Jewish people said, you know what? Let's just give up. Let's just give up. We're all going to jump in the sea and drown because we cannot fight against the Egyptians. Well, Yeladim, out of those 4 groups, which of them do you think were right? I'll remind you which ones they are. You want to come up? I'll remind you which ones they are. Okay. Group number 1 said, let us daven to Hashem. Group number 2 said, let us fight the Egyptians. Group number 3 said, let us say sorry to the Egyptians and be their slaves again. And group number 4 said, let's just give up and jump into the sea. Which of those 4 groups were correct? Show me with your fingers. I can see some people say group number 1, that we should daven to Hashem. Okay, that's what I'm seeing. Well, I must tell you, group number 4, to just give up and jump in the sea, bad idea. You should never give up. Hashem can always help you. Group number 3, say, sorry Egyptians, let's go back. Definitely bad idea. Hashem helped you up till now. You think Hashem couldn't help you now? Group number 2, let's go fight the Egyptians. That's not the worst idea, but that's not a great idea because the Egyptians have got a proper strong army. I think there's a better way. Group number 1, daven to Hashem, was also the wrong idea. Sorry to tell you. Normally it's a great thing to daven to Hashem. But this time, that wasn't what Hashem wanted us to do. Do you know what Hashem actually wanted us to do this time? Oh no, we're out of time. I can't finish telling you. I'm going to have to tell you tomorrow what Hashem really wanted them to do. Well, I want you to think about it and ask your mom and dad, if all of those 4 groups were wrong, what should they really have done? I will tell you tomorrow. Bye.